Blog Talk Radio.
Something's gone wrong. For all our vigilance and battle scars over the Bill of Rights, and we let the flame of freedom's torch grow cold. Because there can be no torch to pass where there's no flame.
Freedom has only one enemy it cannot defeat, and that is negligence. So your presence here, now, today, is an act of reverence. Of all man's works beneath the heavens, none shines brighter than our Constitution. I think Jefferson and Paine, Adams, Madison, Mason, Franklin, I think they're looking down right now at us. I think they understand what we're trying to do, what we strive to do. Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first, those who truly understand her. When freedom shivers in the cold shadow of true peril, it's always the patriots who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first in the hearts of freedom's vanguard.
Good evening, everybody. This is Joe Joseph. My co-hosts tonight, John King and A.C. Griffith. Griff will be calling in shortly. He's a little bit detained, so as soon as he gets here, I will bring him on board. But John, what a fabulous show we have here tonight, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I was trying to rush time today, just so we could get to this point. I've been as giddy as a little schoolboy all day long. Trust me.
Folks, tonight our guest, first hour, is Jim Marrs, best-selling author. Jim is a former American newspaper journalist and author of books and articles on a wide range of alleged cover-ups and conspiracy. Jim is a prominent figure in the JFK conspiracy press, and his book Crossfire was a source for Oliver Stone's film JFK. He's written books asserting the existence of government conspiracies regarding aliens, 9/11, telepathy, and secret societies. He was once a newspaper reporter in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and has taught a class on the Kennedy assassination at the University of Texas at Arlington, and he's also a member of Scholars for 9/11 Truth, which I personally really admire as anybody that stands up for the truth about 9/11. Is definitely a friend of mine. So, Jim, welcome to the show.
Hey, Joe, it's a pleasure to be with you.
The pleasure's all mine, sir, for real. Scholars for 9/11 Truth, huh? I mean, that right there. What is the Scholars for 9/11 Truth doing right now?
Well, they got to, like every little organization, they fell out to squabbling with each other, is it this or that, black or white, green?
Mm-hmm.
And so, actually, there's, I think, two organizations now, but they're each individually, and everyone individually is doing what they can to bring out the truth of 9/11. And for anyone who's listening, I would like to quote from a book called The Ground Truth that came out last year, and it's authored by John Farmer. Now, John Farmer is a former Attorney General of New Jersey and was the senior counsel to the 9/11 Commission. So he's their top lawyer on the 9/11 Commission. So this is the official 9/11 Commission man speaking, okay? And on page 2 of his book, he writes, and I quote, "In the course of our investigation into the national response to the attacks, the 9/11 Commission staff discovered that the official version of what had occurred that morning, that is, what government and military officials had told the Congress, the Commission, the media, and the public about who knew what and when, was almost entirely and inexplicably untrue."
Amen to that.
I simply, if the chief counsel of the 9/11 Commission says that what they told us is untrue, then I would simply ask, why is it fantasizing or somewhat unpatriotic to simply demand to know what the truth was.
You know, Jim, I really feel like the powers that be are really starting to lose their grip here, and all I can say is, boy, they sure do try. You know, and you're absolutely right. When the chief counsel of the 9/11 Commission comes out and says it's wrong, what else is there? And how much more are we going to have to? What are we going to have to do in order to get a new investigation and an impartial one at that?
Well, we have to awake everyone. Again, quoting John Farmer, he says, at some level of the government at some point in time, there was a decision not to tell the truth about what happened. Well, I'm sorry, but I, for one, want to know the truth. I want to know what happened. And I don't think this is unpatriotic. In fact, I can distinctly remember President George W. Bush, the afternoon of 9/11, saying something to the effect that we must not rest until we find out who's responsible for this and see that they're punished. So, hey, I'm only trying to do what my president asked me to do.
Amen to that. And Jim, my co-host Griff has joined us. Griff, you there?
Yes, sir. I had a little difficulty dialing in, but I made it. Good afternoon, Jim.
Hey, Griff, I've heard about you, heard about some of your writings and pontifications, and you're right on, my man.
Thank you.
Well, Griff, we were just talking about 9/11 and how the movement as a whole is gaining traction, and what we're seeing is in more than just one facet, 9/11 being one, but there are other things that we'll talk about tonight, that the powers that be are losing their grip. They're losing their grip on what they are trying to accomplish. John and I have been doing some research recently into things like rodent coils and free energy, and in our research we've discovered some things that are very interesting, in that a lot of this stuff that we're coming to find out is actually ancient knowledge. This is not something that is new to people. This has been around for thousands of years, that we're just now coming about and finding out, hey, look, you know what? Some of these signs and some of these things that we see that a lot of these cult religions are using as symbols are actually keys to unlocking knowledge for free energy and things like that. So we're running into this, and I don't think the powers that be would like everybody to have free energy. That's one thing. But yes, sir.
Yeah. In my book on 9/11, The Terror Conspiracy, and that came out in 2006. I'm working on an updated version right now, but I actually had a whole section there. I think the argument can be made, and there is some substance to it, that the real reason we invaded Iraq was in search of weapons of mass destruction, all right, but as we well know now, they never found any atomic weapons or biochemical weapons.
Right.
So I think the weapons of mass destruction that they were actually looking for involves the looting of the Iraqi National Museum. Because when we invaded Iraq, unlike normal military tactics, which is you set an objective, you seize your objective, and then you consolidate the territory that you've won, and then you move on to a new objective, we didn't do that. We bypassed the normal military tactics and strategy. We made a beeline for Baghdad. And what happened in Baghdad? The looting of the Iraqi National Museum. And what was in there that they wanted? Well, I have newspaper clippings from the Associated Press and Reuters and others dating back to 1999, 2000, where German and French archaeological teams were making, quote, amazing, end quote, new discoveries in the ancient Sumerian cities of Uruk and Ur and other places, and that to include weapons. Well, wait a minute. Ancient weapons? What, a rusty old spear, a sword? Surely that didn't make much comment. No, what we're talking about is exactly what you mentioned. Ancient technology, the manipulation of energy at the atomic and subatomic level. That's what they were after. And my sources tell me that they actually got some of that, but they hadn't figured out how to make it work.
Now, Griff, you know as well as I, because you've turned me on to this, and after a lot of research, scalar. Now that's been around for how long? And that's a very viable weapon system that they use right now today, isn't it?
It would seem to me that that is the ultimate weapon. I think Nikita Khrushchev, many years ago in the 60s, went on record by commenting to that. He said that Russia, or the Soviet Union at that time, had the ultimate weapon, and it is. And we know that a presentation, a explanation, a paper, a conference, a talk was given to Reagan by people in the know. And I was groping for that word. In the know, I guess, is close to it. In the American science community. So from Reagan's time on, they've known about the scalar. The United States has been slow to come up to speed on it. Other countries, there are about 10 nations now that have that, the ultimate weapon.
And I was talking to... Oh, go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I just want to explain to your audience that, you know, when you're talking about scalar technology, you're talking about electromagnetic energy weapons.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Building energy fields, pulses, frequencies. And again, this is the manipulation of energy is what we're talking about. And this actually gets to a lot of the secrecy that's going on. The overriding reason for this secrecy, whether it's about what we were after in Iraq or whether it's about UFOs, it all comes back to the technology, all right, the manipulation of energy. And if we could go back and actually get access to Tesla technology, the technology that scientists like Tom Bearden was working on, we could probably develop an energy system that drew the natural Earth energy, which would be natural, clean, limitless, free energy. And this is what the people who, not the government, but the people who control the government, and they owe their power and their wealth to their monopolies over petrochemicals. And they do not want us to know about that there is alternative technology out there.
Well, John King, you've been doing a lot of research into that. What do you think about all this? John, are you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry about that. I would have to agree with Jim. The research that I've been doing suggests that a lot of these ancient symbols that we see today, and we say, ooh, that's a conspiracy, or ooh, that's a symbol of evil. Actually, what that is these are ancient symbols of power. Take example, Jim, a rodent coil, as Joe brought up earlier. I've studied this thing. I've studied the rodent's vortex mathematics. It's a new type of physics. I understand it. And trust me, scalar is just the beginning. You can take an energy weapon, aim it at a whole army, and make the whole army just disappear. You can it's possible to take a megaphone with this technology hooked to it, say hello in a normal tone of voice, magnify that frequency so loud that you could wipe out a forest. You could lay waste to a whole entire forest in doing so. These symbols that are created when you wind a rodent coil is first, when you use your copper wire to wind around the coil, you're creating dual pentagrams, and you're overlaying them. Each time you wind the coil, you're overlaying a pentagram. And the interesting thing about it is people can look at this and they can research it for themselves, and Joe can attest to this because I've pointed it out to him and I've showed him, that the magnetic field that is put out in a rodent coil when it's activated looks much like the compass and square of a Freemason symbol. These are all ancient symbols of power. They're hidden knowledge. They're the knowledge of the Illuminati, and that is exactly why I have to agree with you, Joe, that this technology has been hidden from us, the people, for so long, because if it ever got out, the elites and the powers that be would just